The GT4 European Series is at the Nurburgring this weekend. The sun is shining, the cars are on the grid, and we're almost ready to go racing for what is the fifth race of a championship season that has already produced quite a few surprises and, of course, some very interesting racing indeed. The championship began at Imola, they raced also at Misano, and now we come to a very different sort of circuit, the Nurburgring, with wins having gone the way twice of Bas Schouten and Gabriele Piana, their BMW, and a victory each to Xavier Lloveras, Luc Ibanez, and one for Theo Nue and Valentin Asclot. But then another, not spanner thrown in the works so much, but another variable thrown into the melting pot is Ivan Jacoma on pole position with the Sentry Porsche Tricino 718 Cayman that was the car to have in qualifying. Porsches have looked really good all weekend around here, both in the free practice and qualifying sessions. It's a different Cayman on pole for race 2, and Ivan Jacoma is the man on pole position with their Xavier Lloveras lining up alongside him. The timetable running a bit behind here after barrier repairs early on in the day, so the grid countdown being rattled through fairly swiftly. The second row of the grid will have Jan Kasperlik's Porsche Cayman on the inside and Theo Nue on the outside line. But there is a car that's had a win this year, the Mercedes, the ex-Ginetta drivers, Xavier Lloveras and Luc Ibanez. There you've got Theo Nue. Grid being cleared quickly. Engines have all fired up. That's Jan Kasperlik, starting in the Allied Racing 22 Porsche. The sister car, number 21, which should be started in this race by Jörg Wiebahn, had a problem in Q2, ground to a halt at pit in, but I think it is on the grid. It's just, yes, peeking out of the queue of cars there. So everybody making their way from the grid, officials, media, and the teams as well. So they've got the cars all fired up, but there's a problem still there, look, for the Theo Nue Aston Martin, that with the pace lap about to get underway, those officials, those team members are leaving that right to the very end, and that might not go down a storm with the race officials in race control, having them virtually at the car as the formation lap began. However, the cars blast off. This a 1 hour race, as is the tradition in the GT4 European Series. There is, of course, a pit window, and 25 to 35 minutes is that margin. 92 seconds is a pit stop, unless you drive number 31 and your name is Bob Herber, because you don't have a co-driver, so you cop an extra 10 seconds. Ivan Jacoma is on pole, Xavier Lloveras alongside him. It's Porsche and Mercedes on the front row. Jan Kasperlik's Porsche and Theo Nue's Aston Martin are on row 2, ahead of Bas Schouten's BMW and Stefan Lemare's Toyota lining up 6th. 7th, Nicolas Gomard in the Aston, and 8th, Antoine Potti for Toyota. 9th on the grid, Jörg Wiebahn's Porsche, and the top 10 rounded out by Job Raponge in the Chevrolet Camaro. Next on the grid comes Jorge Cabezas in the second of the Camaros, and Cembolo Berzi is alongside him for the Borissan Automotive Motorsport BMW team, ahead of Mark van der A's BMW and the sole McLaren in the order, which is going to be driven by Alexei Sijov in this first stint. Bob Herber goes solo. He's alongside Ibrahim Okiai's BMW, ahead of Wim Spinoy's Mercedes and Giuseppe Gezzi's Porsche. And then the back row of the grid is going to be Jean-Luc Verhet's Mercedes and Dario Cerati, the 72-year-old Italian, in his Porsche Cayman at the rear of the grid. So then the cars make their way now down to turn 8. Is this going to be a Porsche win? Ivan Jacoma shares with a very experienced one-time champ car racer, Joel Camathias. And in the qualifying session that Joel did, he actually was not quite as quick as anticipated. So it'll be interesting to see how he fares in this. There are 3 drivers in this race doing the GT3 6 hours tomorrow as well. Valentin Asclot, Timothée Bouret and Joel Camathias are those drivers. They've got the Toyotas running together, this new Supra GT4, the GR bit for Gazoo Racing, which is the Toyota competition brand, if you like, Gazoo Racing. And there, the Cayman GT4 CS MR, CS for Club Sport, MR for Manthey Racing, which have operated and developed that car, although Manthey Racing is largely owned by Porsche anyway. It's notionally the works team. There you see everybody weaving around to get the warmth in the Pirelli rubber. They don't stop on the grid. We go straight into the race then. So the race will be getting underway about 10 minutes behind its scheduled start time, but the officials doing their best to claw the timetable back, and the cars now come down once more into the Ad Van Bogen. So the safety car as it is, the pace car as it is, will peel into the pit lane at the end of this lap to get the race underway. Now they will start to get themselves in the Noah's Ark 2x2 formation. Steve Burns, the British official, who is the series race director, ready to, if he's happy with the formation, get the race underway. And then 1 hour of GT4 action will be go. Up they come towards the chicane. And Ivan Jacoma on pole position for Porsche. Xavier Lloveras lining up alongside him in the Mercedes. Then the top two on the grid. The officials, I think they're going to be happy. We'll give the signal to get the race underway as the cars now come out of the chicane. It's the motorbike version of the chicane, the softer version, into turn 17 as it is on the track map through the right-hander. The lights will change to get the race underway. Then they're on red at the moment, and as the field accelerates up towards them, slightly out of position, almost overlapping there was Jan Kasperlik, but the race gets underway. It's a bit of an untidy start from many of them. They're 3 wide as they come up towards the line. So who's going to be the beneficiary out of all of that? It was a rather messy start, but they fan out all the way across the road. It is just about going to be Ivan Jacoma who leads, but a really good start by the Toyota there. Is that Lemare on the inside line? There's a bit of a contact in mid-grid. That forces Theo Nue out wide. So Ivan Jacoma leads coming up towards turn 3 for the first time. Great variety of lines being employed as out wide there goes Mark van der Aar's BMW, but on the tail of the leader it's the better of the 2 Toyotas, and it's a Toyota in a big hurry as up the curve gets forced Theo Nue. Whoops, contact at the back of the pack. Where did all that suddenly spring from? That looked like it was Wim Spinoy's car getting involved. The start is under investigation, perhaps not surprisingly, and so Gabriele Piana's BMW that he shares with Baschhausen at the wheel of it, number 111 in a hurry, but number 8 Stefan Lemare's Toyota is the one taking the fight to the race leader as the cars drop downhill for the first time. 31 is Bob Herber in the yellow Mercedes, keeping at bay Mark van der Aar's BM, but Lemare right there then, having been 6th on the grid, and he's 2nd coming down to turn 8. As I say, the start is under investigation, so there could be more to this than meets the eye. And as the field turns through, it was indeed Wim Spinoy, kind of living up to his name, that had that rotation and dropped to the back of the pack. So, leader, Jacoma. 2nd is now Lemare. And what happened out of all of that to Xavier Lloveras Mercedes? It's running in 3rd place. Challenge on for 4th there. Baschhausen trying to get up the inside of Jan Kasperlik, who gets it all wrong. Off in avoidance go others. Wow. Leaping over the curb there was Jörg Wiebahn's Porsche. Something broken. Wiebahn's having a monster of a moment. Tries to sort it all out. At the top of the shot, you'll see the blue and white Dorint-backed Porsche, and it has got a problem. Has it got a puncture or has it got damaged suspension? You can see it doesn't look right. I think it's a puncture at least, as the cars at the end of a fairly frantic first lap come out of the chicane. So Ivan Jacoma leads the way. Jacoma ahead of then Lemare in 2nd spot. But there's probably quite a lot to keep the officials busy here as the field turns over the line. Jacoma leading, 2nd is Lemare, 3rd is Lloveras, 4th is Schouten in the BMW. And then look behind him, 5th is Theo Nue, 6th is Nicolas Gomar, 7th is Kasperlik, 8th is Antoine Potti, in 9th is Alexei Sijov in the McLaren, 10th over the line Bob Herber, and we're getting cars down the pit lane, so in has come 21 Porsche. That is Jörg Wiebahn after that wild ride he had at the Ravenel curve. So that's only 1 lap of the hour done, and it was a fairly frantic one, as I say. So now 22 there, you can see Jan Kasperlik going deep into turn 3, under attack from the 89 Nicolas Gomar driven Aston Martin. But up front, if anything, Xavier Lloveras in 3rd in the Mercedes might just be creeping back onto the tail of Stefan Lemare for 2nd position. So keep an eye to that margin. Antoine Potti also trying to work his way up the order from 8th in the 2nd of the Toyota Supras, but as the field drops downhill for the 2nd time, it is Ivan Jacoma in the lead of the race, 0.4 of a second clear. Now this is the start being looked at. Jacoma seems to be on the brakes coming up towards the line. Everybody fanned out all the way across the road behind him. And where do you look to try and unravel the story? Lemare just carved his way through. He was away like a stab rat coming up through the traffic in the Toyota. To the inside line he goes. Others try and find a gap on the outside. So Lemare gets all the clear real estate, slots in behind Jacoma. That in turn forces out Lloveras, who falls into 3rd place. And actually, despite cars all over the road, there wasn't any contact going through the first couple of 3 corners, so they all got away with that. It was later in the lap where it all kicked off up at the Ravenel curve. And there was the spin for Wim Spinoy around the Mercedes. So there, 4th and 5th together, Baschhausen coming under attack now from Theo Nue. winners both this year, those two cars. The BMW won both at Imola, and Teo Nue victorious at Misano as the cars now work their way up through the chicane, this being lap number 2. So Teo Nue sharing with Valentin Asclo, comes up towards the timing line, up past the pits. What can he do about the more experienced Bas Schouten? Past the pits they run. Nue, 17 years of age, raced in the French GT4 Championship last year, has a look to the inside of Bas Schouten as they come down to turn 1, but he can't find a way by there. Into the arena they come. The BMW goes a little bit wide. They're being caught, look, by Kasperlik in 6th in the pale blue Porsche, but Jacoma leading Lemare by 0.4 of a second now as they wriggle their way around the arena. That is the fight for 4th. Schouten versus Nue, who has a look to the inside line. Is he going to be able to go through? Tries it, but he's going to be on the outside line for the next corner, and the road will not come his way. So Bas Schouten keeps him at bay for the moment. They're the 3 leaders, the top 3 covered at the moment by 1.3 seconds, with Joveras last time doing the fastest lap of the race. So he's hunting down the top 2, getting there. Schouten in 4th, delaying Nue. Kasperlik is catching. Potti is up to 7th. Gomar is down to 8th. Sijov is 9th in the McLaren, and Bob Herber is 10th in the yellow Mercedes in the background, keeping at bay in turn the BMW of Cemboluk Bazi, that's ahead of the similar car of Mark van der Aar. Now through turn 8 goes Bas Schouten. Still behind him is Teo Nue, but then Kasperlik 6th, inching his way up onto the tail of them. Mindful as well that Antoine Potti is not that far behind as they come into the Schumacher S now. A steep climb up the hill. And now into the left and the right of the Ravenel and Bilstein curves, but they're back in the race. Badly delayed is Jörg Wiebahn, so the punctured tyre replaced, but he's in danger of going a lap down here. Is Wiebahn. He could do with an early safety car to bring him back into the mix, as here, look, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, they're all together with Bas Schouten, Teo Nue, Jan Kasperlik, Antoine Potti as 1. So you've got BMW, Aston Martin, Porsche and Toyota. 4th place fight into the chicane. The BMW fends them all off. That soft version of the chicane sort of prevents overtaking on the way in, but it does tee you up for the way out, as he's proved by Nue, who gets his nose chopped off by the BMW. Jan Kasperlik comes up to have a go on the outside line, and now the run past the pits down towards turn 1. Into the braking zone. Hard on that brake and then turn into the arena with there. Look, you can see Antoine Potti on the outside of Teo Nue. Kasperlik is the beneficiary. He's gained 1 place. He goes for another, but he has to switch across. Nue dives to the inside, gets up the curb. They're going to lean on each other, touring car style, but the Aston goes through. Jan Kasperlik caught napping a little bit there. He was busy defending from the Toyota. Left the door open, trying to close it at the last minute. Couldn't do it, and so the Toyota gets by as well. So 1 up and 2 back for Kasperlik out of all of that. Out of turn 4 they come, 3 race leaders, still covered by 1.3 seconds as they drop now into turn 5. 52 minutes on the clock still, mandatory pit window to get through as well. So the race leaders head downhill to turn 8. Here's the 4th place battle, some way behind them. Bas Schouten just keeping Nue. Then you've got Antoine Potti at bay. Jan Kasperlik then next in the queue, trying to make up the lost ground. Behind him is Alexei Sijov, and then Nikolai Gomar next up as the dust settles at the Schumacher S from the leaders. The next gang of cars run through the dust, bring more of it onto the road, make it slippery for those behind. And there, hard on the brakes, Teo Nue oh so nearly has the car get away from underneath him. You can see he's crawling all over the back of Bas Schouten, goes to the inside of the Bilstein curve. That's a bold effort. It's going to work, I think, on the inside line. It should do. The BM gets forced up the curb, but that BMW has lots of grunt. Is he going to be able to come back round the outside at the Ad Van Bogen? Yes, he is. Not only that, but so too Antoine Potti of the Toyota goes ahead of the Aston Martin. So the BMW back up to 4th, the Toyota follows him through to 5th, and down to 6th then goes Teo Nue. All that hard work comes to naught. Jan Kasperlik now tries to get in on the act as well. Up past the pits comes that leading train of cars. Jacoma still ahead of Lemare. Joveras in 3rd, Schouten 4th, up to 5th now is Potti. 6th is Nue, 7th is Kasperlik, and in 8th place as they break and turn in is the McLaren look of Alexei Sijov, and that's getting closer. Alexei Sijov all the while inching up onto the back of them. So the cars come through the arena. Antoine Potty on the attack, and in the traffic now is Ivan Jacoma. It's another Porsche Cayman, but it's run out of a different team. So Jörg Wiebahn about to go a lap down as Antoine Potty comes up to have a go look at Bas Schouten in the BMW. They've got Nue right with them as well, so there's a long, long line of cars. The cork in the bottle here is Bas Schouten, definitely, because he just cannot get away, but equally, they can't get past him. Downhill, Jacoma has got past the back-marking Jörg Wiebahn after his punctured tyre replaced, and that now means Lemare has got to do the attacking to get through the traffic. Deep into turn 8 goes Antoine Potty, up the inside goes Theo Nue, but has he got the grunt in a straight line up the hill to be able to respond and make that move and challenge? No, he hasn't. Again, that car good through the corners, but the Aston under the BOP in GT4 just looks a bit breathless, doesn't it, or a bit heavy heading up the hill. It hasn't got the pace. The McLaren closing in all the time. Alexei Sijov there in the SRO Motorsports car. Nicola Gomar next up, but Bas Schouten, all he can do is try and keep as many behind for as long as possible before he gives that car over to Gabriele Piana, the Nordschleife-based Italian. Way up the curb goes Schouten, he gets it back onto the road, but that's, again, not going to help the tyres, and the pressure starting to tell on Bas Schouten now. Downhill he goes once again. Contact there, Antoine Potty forces a way through, puts both of them off the road. The Toyota bounces onto the tarmac again, through comes Theo Nue, and Bas Schouten, the victim in all of that, but it was a rather brutal way that Antoine Potty forced away by. Let's see whether that ends up being looked at as the leaders go over the timing line, with the gap between the top two being 11/10 of a second. Xavier Lloveras is third, and then the cork's out of the bottle. Fourth now is Potty, fifth is Nue, sixth is Schouten, seventh diving up the inside line is Alexei Sijov in the McLaren. Is he going to get past the BMW? They ran absolutely side by side. Schouten off the road and back on again. Alexei Sijov makes his move. Bas Schouten tries to brave it out on the outside line, but again, he just can't do it. Out wide over the curb goes the BMW, and now to the inside line tries to go Jan Kasperlik. So as soon as one gets past you, you're off your line, you're off your stride. The others can seize the advantage if they can. Kasperlik to the inside, there's going to be contact there. Yes, there is. You see the correction applied by Schouten to control the slide, triggered by the nudge. Downhill they all plunge. This takes you back to 11th place. Look at the rear of the queue, Bob Herber. So this shows you the danger now that Bas Schouten is in terms of losing places. Into turn 8 they come now, through that right. Back on the power once again, the climb uphill, but as soon as they've got past the BMW, so the traffic getting away. Bas Schouten's BMW clearly is ailing here, because not only is it being caught by other brands, it's being caught by another BMW as well. You can see that Cembalo Bazi's car is almost in that group as well. The Turkish driver, winner of the Formula Renault Esports series in lockdown, the pale blue BM in the mix too. What we're not seeing much out of, sadly, are the Chevrolet Camaros at the moment, but you never know what might happen after the pit window. So with 15 minutes almost done, the cars accelerate their way up towards the chicane once more. We've done 5 laps. Ivan Jacoma, the race leader, trying to get away from Stefan Lemare. Lemare will give the car to Gaël Castelli, experienced French Carrera Cup champion and Seat Peugeot champion, whereas Ivan Jacoma will give the car over to Joel Camathias, who has raced, of course, in single-seaters and champ car, but that might trigger a safety car as Dario Cerati is in the gravel, and that might change the complexion of the race completely. So in the gravel is Cerati, and the septuagenarian out of the race as the leaders go through the arena at turn 1. It's in the middle sector that car is off the road, and as I say, I fear it might end up being an interruption. We'll see whether the yellow flags can cover it, but if it's very close to the edge of the road, the race director Steve Burns may have no option but to let that car be extricated safely with everybody at a reduced pace. So that would bring the leading gap down. There it is, you can see the gravel that's been scattered. Now whereabouts is it? It looks like it's quite a long way off the racetrack actually. It's at turn 10, but where is the race circuit? Oh yeah, you know, he's got it wrong at the Schumacher S, and he is quite close to the edge of the road, isn't he? So if anybody else were to run wide, they might strike it. This is how Cerati got there. So he goes deep into the S, runs out wide, and then it's a long, lazy slide that eventually carries him through the gravel until the momentum runs out and the car comes to a halt. There he is, beached, spins the wheels, gravel everywhere, and it'll be a full course yellow, in fact. So the full course yellow now is deployed, so the gaps won't come down necessarily. A full course yellow, but what you never know is whether or not it's going to be a quick situation, in which case the cars can be released quickly, or whether, if it's many laps and tyre pressures and temperatures have gone, it'll need a safety car lap or two to get the speed up again for safety on the tyre side of things. But a full course yellow is deployed. Lead gap 1.4 seconds, should be maintained, of course, because you run at the delta speed, and all that is monitored by the timing system to know if anybody has gone too quickly under the full course yellow situation. So here's a replay of what happened before all of that, with Antoine Potty clattering up the inside of Bas Schouten. It was a bold effort. It's very hard to overtake because that soft version of the chicane means that there's only really one line through it. Well, Antoine Potty's just proved that there's another one if you use the grass for some people. But that was a forceful way of doing it, but it did work for him. But whether that's going to be approved of, who knows. So Ivan Jacoma, the race leader, has just gone past the timing line with Stefan Lemare in second place. There you see the rest of the field sweeping up through the chicane. So we're under full course yellow conditions. I would suggest that the gaps aren't being maintained by everybody. Antoine Potty coming through in fourth place. There he is. Behind him, Theo Nue, Alexei Sijov next up, and confirmation of the work going on. Dario Cerati's Porsche set to be hoiked out of the way, but then it's also sweep the gravel off the road because it's pretty much littered it all the way across. However, be it full course yellow or safety car, at least it's able to keep the race running while that car is attended to. So the race order is Porsche, Ivan Jacoma; Toyota second, Stefan Lemare; Xavier Lloveras third in the Mercedes; Antoine Potty fourth; fifth, Theo Nue; and Alexei Sijov in sixth. Bas Schouten seventh ahead of Jan Kasperlik, Nicolas Gomar and Chembolok Bazi in 10th place. So as the officials are about to hopefully gently drag that car across the road out of the gravel, that's at turn 10. This is turn 6, where you've got Ivan Jacoma coming through. Now this, of course, will get us a little bit nearer to that pit stop window opening up, and that will be in about 8 minutes time. I'm not suggesting you've got another 8 minutes of full course yellow, but there'll be fewer racing laps, of course, within this first stint available to the drivers as a consequence of this. Down towards turn 8 they come. With it being a full course yellow rather than a safety car, it doesn't help Wim Spinoy catch up at the back of the field, and of course it's all happened too late to help Jörg Wiebahn anyway, because he'd already lost a lap to the leaders. There is Cerati out of the gravel, so drives the car hopefully offline so the gravel doesn't fall onto the racing line itself. Ideally he should be on the grass really, or on the runoff area, on the runoff tarmac, so when the gravel drops out of the bottom of that car it does it away from the racing line. But Dario Cerati making his way, one hopes, to the pit lane now, and you can see the race leader behind him. So is this now going to be another lap while the track is swept, or can we go racing? I fear that's going to take some sweeping, but we'll see what the officials decide to do. Third place Xavier Lloveras. Right up behind him on the road, Jörg Wiebahn, who of course has now gained a place with the demise of Cerati into the gravel. So the leaders come downhill, and 41 minutes of this first GT4 European Series race of the weekend still to run. So there you've got Ivan Jacoma maintaining, of course, the race lead. No overtaking permitted under this full course yellow provision. And as the drivers work their way up towards the chicane, are we looking at another lap or 2 or 3 of full course yellow conditions. Into the pits comes Dario Cerati, so the Orlando Sport team gets the car back, but the 72-year-old, he was the Italian GT4 champion as recently as 2016, but he goes all the way back to the 1980s racing. He's done so many categories of late, like French GT, Ferrari Challenge, GT Open, Minis, GT4 in Italy, North America, North Europe, you name it. But having a spin into the gravel and triggering this full course yellow period today. There is the Porsche. The Orlando Sport team sets to work. Another squad that specialises in running Porsches at, if you like, club level, but did of course win that very first, as it then was, Blancpain Endurance Series race at Monza when the championship began in 2011. Replay of the incident for the errant Dario Cerati, getting it wrong at the Schumacher S and ending up through the gravel. The gravel scattered across the road, which I think now is what is being attended to. So does this mean that we are about to have a safety car? Because the longer that they are behind a full course yellow going very slowly, the more tyre pressure and temperature is lost. So quite often, certainly in GT3, you'll find the race director then gives 1, maybe 2 safety car laps at a quicker pace, which therefore enables the tyre temperatures to come back up. It's all hands to the broom now. More and more of the marshalling force come out to try and sweep the circuit as quickly as possible, get that gravel back in the bed. Number 718 then, Ivan Giacomo, the number because the Century Porsche Ticino runs this 718 iteration of the Cayman with that number. So down the hill it goes. It's one of those Cayman Club Sports that we've had trigger this full course yellow. Jörg Wiebahn there in the background, a lap down, really frustrating because the car has good pace, and he would have handed that over in a good position, I think, but for his puncture to Nikolai Müller-Madsen, who is very quick, a former silver champion in this series a few years back. Xavier Lloveras comes out of turn 8 in the Mercedes. The pit window is being delayed, we are told. Pit window will be delayed. So that gives the teams a little bit more chance of a racing lap or 2 before the pit window is open. One car, but so much gravel. So through they come again. This first of 2 GT4 European Series races of the weekend. And as the cars work their way through now the Ravenol curve. Ivan Giacomo, is he going to be on for a maiden win, or is this full course yellow period scuppered their chances? Lights flashing. Jorge Cabezas ahead of the other Chevrolet, that of Yacht Reponge. There is the 89 Aston, Nicolas Gomart, to hand over the pit stop to Gilles Vannelet, leading the AM category. Coming into this race, the Silver Cup led by Gabriele Piana and Bas Schouten, who is at the moment in 7th place. The Pro-Ams, Cem Bolokbazi and Jagish Gedik, the BMW drivers, currently in 10th overall, and indeed 3rd in class. And the AMS, Nicolas Gomart and Gilles Vannelet, the category leaders in the championship. And there is Nico Gomart making his way now up towards the Ad Van Bogen, that right-hander that brings you up the hill towards the chicane. A long train of cars there for 4th and back behind Antoine Potti. Safety car deployed. So the safety car now does scoop them all up, ready to enable them to go at a quicker pace and then to get the tyres up to temperature for a safer restart. So the safety car is on track. The field down towards turn 1. And the race order will, of course, be maintained. But now you can see straight away the cars go faster, which is the whole aim for safety reasons. And it means now that we have the gaps coming down as well. Bob Herber there in the yellow Mercedes, just showing intent against Cem Bolokbazi as they go down into turn 1. So Stefan Lemare and Lloveras remaining the top three. And to what point will the pit window be open now? It's, as we know, delayed, but we await confirmation as to exactly when. So behind the safety car here at the Nurburgring, it is the 5th race of the year in the GT4 European Series. That pit stop, when you make it, has to be 92 seconds, pit in to pit out, just to make the point again. And Ivan Jacoma, the race leader, will give that car over to Joel Camathias at the pit stops. Camathias, good single-seater racer, and pretty handy in a GT Porsche as well, as we've seen over the years. So the two Swiss drivers for Century Porsche Ticino. The car entered by Porsche Cup Swiss, and Ivan Jacoma leads the field as the pit window would be imminent but for its delay, so we're going to have to defer that within the race until a point that the race director is content to let the teams go back racing, and then the order doesn't get too confused behind the safety car. So if you've, for this race, of course, got your second driver to come in the second stint, your chances are affected here because he's got less time to do it. And the leader is being given a 5-second penalty at the pit stop for a false start. So the start was being looked at, and a 5-second penalty given to Ivan Jacoma for a false start because it was all a bit untidy. He's deemed to have been the man that made the untidiness. The safety car is in, and we are about to go back racing. But effectively now it'll be a 97-second stop for the number 718 Porsche as we go racing. But the man to watch will be Lemare now, because can the Toyota do anything at all about the leading Porsche as they drop down towards the first corner? To the inside line looks the Belgian driver. The Swiss Porsche driver fends him off as Xavier Lloveras dives up the inside of the Mercedes. That's bold. Is it going to work? Not quite, but it was a really, really strong intent there from Xavier Lloveras to have a real go up the inside to try to get past the Toyota Supra. But the Porsche Cayman leads the way. Green flags fly around the circuit, but is it going to be a Porsche that wins because of that extra penalty in the pits? Cayman versus Supra, Porsche versus Toyota. Mercedes third. Ignore in a sense the Porsche if you can in fourth place because it's a lap down. Jörg Wiebahn's Cayman, so that means it's Antoine Potti's Supra fourth. Their fifth look is Theo Nue's Aston, and sixth behind is the McLaren of Alexis Sijov. Great variety in the brands up at the head of the queue here. Jörg Wiebahn now showing the pace that car has got. He's kind of back where he was on the first lap before he had his incident at the S's. Downhill into turn 8 he comes, and Theo Nue is still on the attack to try to get back past Antoine Potti. Potti, one of the real movers over the early laps of this race, climbs the hill now up towards the Schumacher-S. Jacoma, if he's had the message, will be pushing hard. Antoine Potti bouncing over the curb, kicking up the dust into the face of those behind him. Bachschauten is in 7th place, trying to get up past Alexis Sijov as the McLaren defends as they come now up towards the Ravenel curve. Into the left, into the right, they go downhill. But the Porsche versus Toyota battle is well and truly joined once again. The pit window is now open, so they can pit at the end of this lap, but it'll be a longer stop for the leading Porsche, a longer stop, even longer again for Bob Hare because of a solo 10-second penalty. So it's 5 extra for the leader for a false start, 10 extra if you're a solo driver. Through the chicane, does anybody bail this time? No, no, no. Yes, Sijov in the background is in, and Bachschauten is in as well. So the BMW to give way to Gabriele Piana, that could be a very, very shrewd move, getting that done early. Give Piana as much track time as possible as Ivan Jacoma comes across the line now. Through he goes, Jacoma ahead of Lemare, so the order now starts to shuffle as there. Antoine Potti tries to get up through the traffic ahead of Jörg Wiebahn. He breaks very late, goes really deep into the first corner, runs out wide, and up the inside of Jörg Wiebahn now goes then the Nicolas Gomar, Aston Martin, but of course Wiebahn a lap down. Really frustrated about this. There, down the pit road comes Gabriele Piana's BMW. He's ready for him to take over. Bachschauten will open the door and get out. Gabriele will get in. You see Bob Hare already there at his pit box further up the pit lane as the leaders come towards us for the 12th time in this race. So there you've got Jacoma ahead of Lemare. And that Toyota that we had a drama with in terms of fuel consumption at Imola in the opening race, looking really strong here. There is, of course, a Supra that runs in British GT4, the entry of Speedworks Motorsport. So the Toyota Supra GT4 becoming more and more commonplace now on grids, and results like this, the podium results it's had in British GT, illustrating it's a very competitive car indeed, and hopefully there'll be more on track next year. As here, Cembalat Bazi comes up to have a go against Nikola Gomar, goes right round the outside of him. Really good move that by the Turkish driver, gains a place, and way out wide there, look, further up the road was Teo Nue having a moment. So a place lost for one of the Astons, and then a big wild moment for the other. Now, out of all of this, when does Jacquemin come into the pit lane? Jacquemin leads the way, but behind him, Lemare sitting on his tail. Big flash of the lights, as ever, from the hard-charging Antoine Potti as he comes... sorry, no, that was Lemare, wasn't it, in the Toyota, flashing the lights at Jacquemin. Antoine Potti has been pretty feisty lower down, but into the pit lane now comes Lloveras and Antoine Potti. And a challenge there against the lapped V-Bahn from the recovering Nikola Gomar up the inside line. More and more ahead for the pit lane. So now you've got Xavier Lloveras out of third place, bailing. This could be very important to see that pit stop relative to the leader, Ivan Jacquemin, when he rejoins after his penalty has been served. And not only is Jacquemin looking at an extra 5 seconds in the pits, he's also glued to his mirrors, because just when he needs to be doing really quick laps, he's having to defend from Stefan Lemare in the Toyota. Comes now out of turn 2, does Lemare, and again he's got the speed, but can he find a way past the Cayman? The Porsche leads the way. Toyota second then. Pit window is open, and the race leader, remember, with an extra 5 seconds on that pit stop. An incident between 111 Gabriele Piana stroke Baschhouten and 66 Antoine Potti will be investigated after the race. That, I think, was when Potti dived up the inside of the chicane and rattled the BMW off the road. The officials will have a look, the stewards will look at it post-race. Race director notes it, says, right, you go away and have a look at that, see what we need to do about it, and that will be done after the race. So the race leaders come here out of turn 8, climb the hill. Ivan Jacquemin in the lead, being chased by Stefan Lemare. How much curb does Jacquemin use? Quite a lot, still the same amount being gobbled up by the Supra behind in those familiar white, red and black Gazoo Racing colours. Meantime, there is the 111 Gabriele Piana BMW, definitely one to look for. More coming out of the pit lane, including there Xavier Lloveras. Now Luc Ibanez at the wheel of the Mercedes. Then you've got the second of the Toyotas that Antoine Potti has given to Timothée Bure. But they will fall back behind. Look, Gabriele Piana. So Piana goes ahead, back ahead of the number 66 Toyota that rather clattered him off the road, or clattered his car off the road earlier in the stint. 7:18, Ivan Jacquemin staying out for another lap, so you might anticipate that Joel Camathias would be the quicker of the two, but Ivan Jacquemin is saying, no, my car, my bills, I'm having as many laps, and I'm leading as well. Through he comes. Half a second clear of Stefan Lemare. Back into the pits, Jörg Wiebans came in, incidentally, to give way to Nikolai Müller-Madsen. Real shame that you're not going to see Nikolai on the right lap, because he's a really quick driver indeed, is the Dane. And the order is changing all the time with these pit stops cycling through. So 27 minutes of the race to go. There, Ivan Jacquemin down through turn 3. That's Stefan Lemare in that lusty sounding Supra. Closes up onto the back of the normally aspirated Cayman. The original 718s, 2 and 2.5 litre turbos, but this is the flat 6 normally aspirated engine car, and down into turn 5, the top 2 turn. See the Satina branding on the front of the cars. All the pole position winners in the qualifying sessions get a Satina watch. So Ivan Jacquemin has one of those from this morning, yesterday's efforts from qualifying, and accelerating his way up the hill now, trying to stretch that gap again over Stefan Lemare, and it has worked, at least over that section of the circuit. The gap up just a little. So the Porsche, the car to beat no matter which team, no matter which driver, really, across the weekend thus far. When it was Q1 this morning, it was all about Ivan Jacoma, and you can see why. He leads the way, and despite Lemare's efforts, the gap is increasing. We've got a car stationary out on the circuit. Mark van der Aar's BMW was stopped, we understand, at turn 6. So there's a BMW stranded. Whereabouts relative to the track, whether it's pulled off a long way or expired on the road, we don't yet know, but there's a BMW stranded out on the circuit as Lemare pits. Out of second place, in he comes. So Ivan Jacoma is leaving this pretty late, you've got to say. Can probably only squeeze one more lap out of this, but into the pit lane has come the second place car of Lemare. Looking at pit stop times, 92 seconds is the pit stop time, and the best pit stop is from the number 15 Mercedes of the Spaniards, Ibanez and Lloveras, 92.1 seconds, so just a tenth the wrong side of that. Of course, if you're under the pit stop, then you get a penalty, but therefore it's timing it as close to being safe after 92 seconds, and a tenth I think is pretty exceptional going, so a really good pit stop from the number 15 Mercedes. So Stefan Lemare leaps clear. Gaël Castelli gets into the number 8 Supra. The Toyota Gazoo Racing France colours on the side of it. And now Gaël Castelli, who is up from 6th on the grid, don't forget that car, ready to go back into the race. There is a small snag for the Théo Nouet and Valentin Asclot Aston. That was Nouet not quite being able to get the car parked properly. So, number 15, this is the car I've just been talking about, that mega pit stop. 92.1 seconds was the stop. And up now it comes. Where will it inherit a place? Which position will it get? And where will it be relative to Ivan Jacoma after the penalty is served? So there in the pits, coming back out, is number 8 Toyota, Gaël Castelli. Of course, he can't accelerate until he gets to that white line where the markers and the cones are, which will be now, but he's going to lose the place, isn't he? Because it's a really good pit stop by the Mercedes. That means that Luc Ibanez is now ahead of Gaël Castelli. And Castelli was 2.6 seconds slower in the pits, and that's cost him a place. Pure and simple. So if you're as close to that 92 seconds as you can do, it's all very well being cautious, but it costs you time. And there is Gilles Vannelet hustling on. Back into the race goes that car after its stop. So we've lost a BMW, as I say, of Mark van der Aar. We are told that has stopped at turn 5. May have got going again by now because we've had no yellows, but the leader is into the pit lane. So Ivan Jacoma comes in. Remember, this car now could inherit the race lead with the penalty, with 5 seconds extra in the pits for this car. It has led hitherto. Joel Camathias, very, very tall Swiss driver, runs around the car. Joel now has to fold himself into the Porsche. So an extra 5 seconds for that team to serve as a penalty for Ivan Jacoma's false start. Also in Chembolok Bazi. Right, so Ivan Jacoma will walk away. And here is now a car that could become the race leading car. Luc Ibanez being chased by Gaël Castelli. Then you've got Valentin Asclot and Gabriele Piana behind. So Piana, even though he's been longer in the car than most in this second stint, still not really being able to make up the ground lost by Bachhouten in that earlier stint. So, 97 seconds it should be for number 718 for when Joel Camathias takes it out. There it is, the car's ready to go. And so now it's all about the clock. As soon as that board is released, the car can make its way down the pit lane. 22 minutes of the race to go. It's going to lose its lead, isn't it, to this car? Seemingly number 15 then, the Mercedes. Luc Ibanez at the wheel, winner at Misano, comes up towards the line. The Porsche is on its way. It's going to be close. It's going to be a good second stint to the race, this as well, because Luc Ibanez will inherit the lead. Who is going to be second? Gaël Castelli should go through. So now Camathias accelerates away. He's going to lose second. He's going to lose third. What about fourth? What about fourth? To the outside line is Piana. Yep, so the car that led the first stint is fifth after the stops. Tries to be fourth coming out of turn 1. Briefly is fourth. Outside line for turn 2. Back down to fifth. So those 5 seconds in the pits have been pretty costly. There was actually an extra second that they lost as well because it wasn't the slickiest release. So it's cost the team 6 seconds over and above the regulation pit stop time. And Joel Camathias now with a lot of work to do. No longer does that car lead, and it means now that it's going to be a fight between Luc Ibanez in the Mercedes and Gael Castelli in the Toyota. So how quickly things can change in pit stop races. There, number 69 is Phil Durr, the team principal of Durr Motorsports. Heads downhill in the McLaren. So he now is the one that comes up to have a go against Joel Camathias. But Camathias, for the moment, is able to hang on to that 5th place. The McLaren tucked up behind. First time we've seen that car in GT4 European Series this year. And it's a very welcome addition as Camathias goes wide and has a problem. Straight away, loses momentum, and the McLaren breezes past him. So Joel Camathias, who's done GT3 as well as GT4 duty this weekend, having a torrid first lap out, losing places, and now he's coming under attack, look, from the Toyota number 66 behind in the hands of Timothée Bure. Now, let's hear from Stefan Lemare, because he had a good stint in number 8. Stefan Lemare is with Gemma Scott.
Stefan, that was quite some stint you drove after the safety car there. We saw you really putting the pressure on the first place car of Giacomo, but just unable to get enough momentum to pass him.
Yes, it was impossible to pass him because he was fast in the straights, and I never had a real opportunity to attack him, but I knew that he had 5 seconds penalty for his jump start, so I was not looking for something too. I was not looking for too much.
But it shows that the team have certainly got the pace back this season.
I didn't understand, but I think you talk about the team, and I'm so happy for the team, because the 2 first rounds were difficult. We didn't show the real pace we can do, and here it was the opportunity to show that we can fight for the first positions, and I'm so happy for CMR, which is pushing a lot, and also for Toyota, who is working. It's a dream to work with these guys of Toyota, because they are helping us so much, and I was so happy to see the smiles on the face in the team and in Toyota guys.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Good to hear from Stefan Lemare, very accomplished Belgian journalist racer. The next Paul Frere, you could argue. There is Valentin Asclot up into 3rd place now. So after pit stops and penalties, that car looking strong. Joel Camathias is down in 6th place in the car that dominated the first stint of the race. However, Lemare might be a happy chap, but right now it is Luc Ibanez who is still clear in the lead of the race, 4.2 seconds ahead of that Toyota. If anything, Gael Castelli is going to have to think about defending second, isn't he, from Asclot? That's the real mission, and there's a pit stop under investigation for that car. Valentin Asclot's Aston Martin. Remember, we saw it stop, lurch forward. Well, it's being looked at by the officials just in case anything happened in all of that panic that contravened the pit stop regulations. How the grunt and go yank tanks getting on. Duncan Houseman is in 10th place, and Timo Nabuurs is in 11th. So they're running together. Very evenly matched, those 2 cars, but sadly a long way down the order. So there is Gael Castelli out of the chicane. But it's Asclot who's under investigation for the pit stop, closing in all the time. This is, remember, what we saw earlier from that stop. So the car seemed to be in gear, and as the driver tried to get out, it lurched forward. But in all of that, did too many people touch the car? Was that unsafe? The officials are going to have a look just to see if that contravenes a regulation anywhere. Jagish Gedik's BMW has lost a couple of places, and also about to lose one too is Timothée Bure, because that was diving up the inside, the number 22 Porsche of Bastien Bus. Through he goes. So this is the car taken over from Jan Kasperlik, and Bastien Bus gets ahead then of Timothée Bure. He's odd actually, because you always think 66 Toyota should be the quickest, but it's not really achieved that despite the aggression in the driving. And there Bastien Bus, in his first year of car racing, who's been a really quick driver, he's on pole for race 2, picks up a place. More cars under investigation. Timo Nabuurs in his Camaro, and 21 Nikolai Muller-Madsen for speeding in the pit lane. Timothée Bure heads down the hill. There is Bastien Bus ahead of him. The Allied Racing Porsche up into 7th place now as he comes into turn 8 through that uphill hairpin. The long right-hander. Section of the circuit that's a very popular drifting area as well for events. houses the big concours at the Truck Grand Prix. Number 15, then the race leader, Luc Ibanez. They won the opening race at Misano, did Ibanez and Xavier Lloveras. It looks like they're going to do the same again here. So the Mercedes well clear now by nearly 5 seconds, having sat there in third place all the way through the first stint, but a really good pit stop and a really good second stint here by Luc Ibanez is stretching the margin. Gael Castelli, though, he's still pushing on, taking Valentin Asclo with him. Looking fourth place, Gabriele Piana. Fifth is the McLaren of Phil Durr, and then sixth is Joel Camathias. So it's a very different order from that we had in the first stint. And we're not done yet either as the race continues. We've lost then Mark van der Aar's BMW. We've still got a few things being investigated that might affect the results, but on track it is Luc Ibanez leading the way. Replay of more gravel being kicked up. That was down at turn 8, and out of it comes one of the two Boroshan BMWs. That I think is number 12, which means Jagish Gedik has had an off. Scatters gravel up the hill. Jagish Gedik then down to 12th in number 12. Nikolai Muller-Madsen there in the number 21 Porsche on the road, chasing Timothy Bure, but of course he's a lap down, so in 18th place really is the 21 Porsche. So where is our next change going to come from in all of this? There, Phil Durr running in 5th place in the McLaren. The Durr Motorsport boss chasing after Gabriele Piana. Now what can Piana do, if anything, about Asclo ahead of him? The last lap from the BMW was a 10th quicker than the McLaren. It's not enough really to markedly bring down the gap with 14 minutes still on the clock. Going now through that Schumacher S, Piana in the BMW. So BMW versus McLaren. Gabriele Piana versus Phil Durr as they climb the hill up towards the chicane. Race leader in and amongst the back markers. Now up over the timing line comes Luc Ibanez. Got another of those Auto Lando Sport Caymans to negotiate. Second, third, fourth, fifth, all down a long queue as they come past the pits. Castelli, Asclo, Piana, then Durr, Camathias in 6th. Bastien Bus 7th, 8th Bure, 9th Heisman, 10th Nabours. And in terms of classes, in the Pro-Am class, it is still Camathias and Jacoma leading, but they're not going to win outright. And in the AMs, it is Vanelay and Gomar ahead in 11th place overall. There, Bob Herbert dives up the inside heading into turn 1, gets ahead of the sister car of Johan Behetz, but is that going to cost him time on exit? No, he's just about able to hang on to that. So Jean-Luc Behetz and Johan Van Arum share that car, lose a spot to Bob Herbert, who in turn gets himself now to the back of Jagish Gedik. Should be Johan Van Arum, in fairness, in 32. It was Behetz that did the first stint. So over the brow comes then the fight for second place. Castelli ahead of Asclo. And just under 12 minutes of the race remain as Joel Camathias here struggles to match the pace that was being set by Ivan Jacoma, which is really quirky given the experience that Camathias has. So whether it's a problemed weekend for him trying to adapt from GT3 and GT4 and back again. So there is Camathias. Comes then up towards the timing line. goes past the pits. Car's leader in the AMS, Gilles Vannelet, heads into turn 1. What have we got? Just under 11 minutes of the race. So another class win beckons, it seems. They've already had one this year at Imola, but Bob Herber won both at Misano. In fact, again, as a solo entrant there, Bob Herber. But the regulations say, yeah, all right, you can go on your own, but you serve an extra 10 seconds. But what that does mean is you get loads of track time. It's not to be encouraged, hence the penalty in the pits, but it does kind of work. There, Phil Durr trying to get through the traffic as quickly as he can. 75 back on the road after being in the gravel earlier. Now that car being driven by Dario Baruchelli. And there you can see, look, Joel Camathias about to lose out potentially to the hard-charging Bastien Bus. So Bastien, in his first year of car racing, it makes you wonder whether Camathias has got a problem with that car, because it's just not doing anything like the pace that it was when Giacomo was driving it. It's about half a second a lap slower. But Camathias is an experienced, pretty accomplished driver. So where is the time disappearing to? Down the hill they come once more, this leading gaggle. Now they make the run up the hill, heading towards the chicane, and the two Caymans at play, but Camathias now having to really think about defending in these last 10 minutes of the race. Over the timing line they go once again. Down towards turn 1. Bastien Bus to the outside line. On the inside line, look, is Camathias, and Bastien Bus tries to go around the outside. That's a brave effort, didn't quite work for him. He couldn't stand his ground and get the inside for turn 2, but straight away he's on his toes and he's all over the back once more of Camathias as they come up towards turn 3 now. Bob Herber has gained a place further back. He's up into 12th place, by the way, in the AM yellow SRT Mercedes. But Camathias and Bus are being caught again by Timothy Bure, closing back up onto the tail of the Weissach cars. So down they head towards turn 5. 8 minutes and change on the clock now. So it is still Luc Ibanez in the lead of the race by 4.5 seconds. The fastest lap of the race, incidentally, has been done by Antoine Potti in that first stint in his charge up through the field, but actually it's done them little good because the car still only in 8th place. 66, there it is, the quickest car in terms of a lap time, but Timothy Bure marred down in 8th spot, chasing after Bastien Bus, who in turn is still looking for a way to get past Joel Camathias. Phil Durr illustrating the pace of the McLaren still, and there a challenge made by Bastien Bus, and that forces Camathias out a little bit wide, but Camathias not able to relax for a moment with the pressure being applied. But now Bastien Bus is in danger of losing out as well, isn't he, because coming up onto his tail is Timothy Bure. Into the chicane comes Camathias, this quick flick through the left and the right, and then up toward the last corner. Camathias gets it wrong, runs it wide, runs it sideways, gets it all wrong. Past him goes Bus, past him goes Bure, and what had been a rather disappointing stint anyway from Camathias has just got a whole lot worse. So he's lost another 2 places. Not only did he not have the pace, he's now had a big slide, and suddenly he's 2 places worse off. So Camathias, who's been a outright GT winner in things like International GT Open, Race Champ Car, Swiss driver really struggling here as he comes now down through turn 1. Tries to get back up the inside and the outside then at turn 2 of the Toyota, but no, job done. Bure is ahead of him, and I think he's going to stay there. Out of turn 3 goes 718 then. So the car that absolutely dominated the first stint, never headed, in the hands of Ivan Jacoma. Now struggles to 8th, I should say, to 8th indeed, in the hands of Camathias, losing places all the while. Here it is, goes into the chicane. Quickly he goes into it to try and get away from Bastien Boost, but just carries too much speed, clips the curb. That unsettles him, so it spits him out wide. Here it is from another angle. Gets it sideways, the mid-engine Cayman's tail wags. In a flash, Bastien Boost was through. Great opportunistic move, and so too Timothée Bure. Didn't need a second invite, did he, to go through on the inside line either. There's the race leader. So Luc Ibanez heads towards the Ravenel curve. Action on all the way around the lap, of course, as you anticipate in the GT4 European Series. Good battles up and down the order, and we're not done yet, as it proves. Just one tiny error from even an experienced driver, and suddenly things change. So the drivers now come up out of the chicane. There is Valentin Asclot. Third he runs, but back onto the tail of Gaël Castelli for second place. So the winners last time out at Misano, Théo Nouet and Valentin Asclot, might gain a place back yet with 5 minutes and counting. Flag goes out, remember, the first time the leader crosses the line at the end of the 1 hour. Down into turn 1 goes the Supra. Asclot late on the brakes, dives down onto the tail of Gaël Castelli, who has to think about defending only now because the gap has widened against the race leader Luc Ibanez, and so it means now that Castelli has to purely keep at bay the Aston Martin. But have a look at Gabriele Piana, because Piana is lapping a little bit quicker behind, and the gap 3rd to 4th is coming down. It might not come down in time to let Piana challenge for a podium, but he won't be far off. Down the hill they go once more. So you've got the Toyota up front into the right-hander. Now swoop through that long looping hairpin. There is Piana in 4th place. The BMW, the best of the BMWs indeed at the moment. This car run by the RN Vision STS team, which was the champion squad last year. Ali Udal and Simon Knapp took the title. Up the curb goes second place Castelli. And there, look, not only is Gabriele Piana closing on 2nd and 3rd, but he's taking Phil Durr's McLaren with him. So the McLaren 5th, first time we've seen it this year, and it's made quite a debut, hasn't it? Being very competitive. Of course, the McLaren's good in other GT4 championships. For example, it's a McLaren that leads the GT4 element of British GT, the HHC Motorsport car. But there for Toyota, for the CMR Classic Modern Racing squad, Gaël Castelli hanging on to 2nd place. 3 minutes to go, plus change for the race leaders. It's going to be 2 laps. And up the curb with the pressure telling, Gaël Castelli really is under attack now. Out wide goes Piana, up the inside goes Durr, and the McLaren goes 4th then as they come across the timing line. So Phil Durr gains a place against Gabriele Piana, moves through on the inside, takes the position away. A rare error that from Gabriele Piana. Brakes very, very late on the outside line, going down towards the hairpin, tries to get the position back, but he can't do it. And now they sprint their way up through the arena once more. So turning their way out now of the turn 3, tight left. Road opens up a little bit, but it's a constant compromise there, trying to work out which is the best line in a battle all the way through that long looping switchback of right, left, left again, right, all the way through the arena. So Phil Durr gains a place, gets away, and Gabriele Piana, not only has he lost a position, but he's now being warned about track limits as well, being told to respect them at turn 4. So Piana being monitored, but look, the McLaren having got past absolutely storms away. The race leader, it'll be the last lap next time around for him, remains Luc Ibanez. This 2nd placed contest with a sliding Supra, Gaël Castelli ahead of the Aston of Valentin Asclot. It is very close indeed. Valentin has a look to the inside, can't do it there, but Asclot rides the curb, looks as though that is becoming the stronger car. The Supra has been losing a little bit of time and now just looking a little bit more edgy as well. You've seen it slide, and again, there's ever such a slight quiver under braking there going up towards the Ravenol curve. The leading Mercedes, though, in the hands of Luc Ibanez, pulling away, heads down the hill once again. Can Dur do anything about third-placed Asclo in all of this? I think the gap is probably too big with a lap to run, but he's pushing on, and that McLaren getting stronger and stronger as the race wears on, especially now it's in clear track space, heading up towards the chicane. It's absolutely flying, isn't it, that McLaren? So right now, Castelli's Toyota becoming the new cork in the new bottle ahead of Valentin Asclo, but they're released from behind Gabriele Piana. Phil Dur absolutely charging up towards the line. He comes, and was that a car running out wide? Let's see. It was Asclo who's made a mistake. So has he got a problem? Ibanez goes through ahead of Castelli. Dur is up to third, Piana fourth, Bastien Bus is fifth. And what has happened starting the last lap? Is it a puncture for Asclo? The car again looked nervous. Yes, it is. It's a punctured tyre. So it's a puncture for Asclo. Now, did he run wide and pick up the puncture, or puncture and run wide? Didn't see, I'm afraid. I just caught a glimpse of a car running out wide out of the turn 17 right-hander. But Valentin Asclo, drama on the very last lap of the race then. He's got to limp it round on a punctured tyre. There aren't too many people that have been running off the road and bringing gravel or anything onto the circuit there, so curiouser and curious. It might have been a slow puncture that's finally let go. But Valentin Asclo, then suddenly the whole complexion changes, doesn't it, for third place, because Gael Castelli running second is under no real pressure, and Phil Dur gains 2 places in about 4 corners. So the McLaren storms up the order. There it is. And now he's on target for third place. Piana back to where he was in fourth. And Asclo will be lucky to get to the end, I would have thought, because that tyre is just going to shred on the last lap, and he'll have to go at such a slow pace that he'll lose so many positions. So there you've got number 15, which is set to be the race winner, Luc Ibanez. He makes the run up now into the Ad Van Bogen, and a really good drive this has been. It's going to be a second win of the season for the Spanish drivers, and dare one suggest they'll be very pleased with their switch of car, because the Mercedes is new for this year, away from Ginetta, which was competitive but gave dramas on occasions in the past. But the Mercedes, right from the start of the season, has been a really competitive proposition, and win number 2 out of 5 races. Checkered flag at the ready. Luc Ibanez and Xavier Lloveras win at the Nurburgring in the GT4 European Series. A really good drive. Second position will go the way of Gael Castelli and co-driver Stefan Lemare, and third to Phil Dur and to Alexei Sijov in the McLaren. What about fourth in the end? This is Piana and Schouten. Fifth, Bastien Bus and Jan Kasperlik. Sixth, Timothy Bure and Antoine Potti. And then seventh, Joel Camathias and Ivan Jacoma in the car that led so much, remember, of that first part of the race. Eighth, Timon Nabours ahead of Duncan Heisman. 10th to win the AMS, Gilles Vanelay. So silver honours to the overall winners. Pro-Am goes the way of Jan Kasperlik and Bastien Bus. Third win of the season there. And Am honours for the second time this season to Nicolas Gomard and Gilles Vanelay, just ahead of Bob Herber. So, another good race within the championship, and another very good drive indeed by Luc Ibanez and Xavier Lloveras to take the race win, second victory of the season. Really good job, and another fascinating race as well. This is one of the good things about long races. So much can happen over the course of, in that case, 1 hour. So has Asclo got to the line? Not yet. 16th he was, and 17th he will be, because Christian de Conte has just gone by to take the position. And Asclo is still limping around. He may get to the end, he may not even be able to do that. Let's just confirm the results then, provisional, because there are 1 or 2 investigations still to be resolved. It's a win for Xavier Lloveras and Luc Ibanez ahead of Stefan Lemare and Gael Castelli. Alexei Sijov and Phil Dur take third ahead of Bas Schouten and Gabriele Piana. Jan Kasperlik fifth ahead of Bastien Bus, Antoine Potti and Timothée Bure 6th from Ivan Jacona and Joel Camathias. 8th, Jot Raponge and Timon Nabours from Jorge Calafas and Duncan Heisman. 10th, Nicolas Gomar and Gilles Vanelay to win the AMS. Confirmation, in fact, that the Valentin Asclot car did not take the timing line. It retired into the paddock rather than taking the flag in the pits. So therefore, it is effectively a non-finish for the car that's there, shown as being 17th, but didn't actually take the flag. So Nikolai Müller-Madsen will be promoted along with Jörg Wiebahn in that Porsche at one spot. So it was a lively old race, and it was a false start that gave a penalty to Ivan Jacoma's Porsche, despite having led all the way through that first stint up to the pit stop window, which in turn was delayed because of the full course yellow period going into the safety car element of the race. So the field making its way on that slowing down lap towards the pit lane. Then the drivers will make their way up to the podium, ready to collect trophies, have photographs taken. But another good race from the GT4 European Series. Good to see that the entry has increased a little again, and that you've got this good variety of the brands coming into it as well. So there, the Nurburgring has another GT4 race bright and early tomorrow morning at 8:40. So the cars for second in class, Gerard Castelli and Stefan Lemare's Toyota slots into place. The winning car, however, in the hands of Ibanez and a very happy Xavier Oliveras. Goes to greet his co-driver. A very, very happy combination of drivers there. Second victory of the season. So fist bumps, and in a moment, helmet off, mask on for Joachim Ed getting out of the car. And then the drivers make their way in due course across to the podium area. The Toyota, again underlining its potential with that second place. And a really good result for the McLaren. Third, Phil Durr and Alexis Sijov. Kind of result that came out of nowhere. Very late in the race did it appear, the pace of that car. But it was a very good job done. So there you've got the delighted Spanish drivers, new car for them, and it's certainly, as I was saying in the course of the race, paying dividends, isn't it, with another good result here. So we'll have a word with our two race winners, because Luke Ibanez and Xavier Oliveras are with Gemma Scott.
Xavier, you started the race, and it was quite a start, actually, almost a mess at the beginning there.
Yeah, we knew that our start wouldn't be good because our top speed is really bad, but still managed to only lose one place, and yeah, staying in second position in the silver class, and then we knew that it was quite difficult to overtake on this track, so we had to do a really good strategy. And we did it, and we won on the pit stops, and he finished the job.
You certainly did. You brought that home absolutely beautifully.
Yeah, he did all the job because he started the race and he managed a little bit of space with behind of the other drivers. We do the change driver pit stop. It's a really good speed stop, the same than Misano. And we managed the first 3 laps to make a gap. We wanted 4 seconds, and we wanted to finish and win, another one win, and more good.
Absolutely. Second win of the year. Congratulations, boys. Well done.
Thank you.
So two very happy drivers, and the Mercedes, which has always been a very good turnkey car for the GT4 series, coming out on top. Now, as far as the championship is concerned, what does all that do going into the second race of the weekend? Well, Gabriele Piana is with Barschauten championship leader in the Silver Cup, but Xavier Lloveras and Luc Ibanez are getting closer. They are in turn on 10 points up now on Asclo and Nue. Timon Nabours and Yotraponge come next. Points on the board for Phil Durr and Alexei Sijov as well. A good haul for their first outing of the season. So the Silver Cup, as ever, giving very competitive racing. And the drivers making their way partly to the podium area, but then of course also to start the thought process for tomorrow's race, which will be bright and early. Might be on a pretty cold and slippery circuit if it's really chilly overnight, as it often is in the Eifel Mountains. 8:40 for a race start means there's not going to be much track temperature. Right, so there are the drivers and trophies in hand. Phil Durr and Alexei Sijov make their way to the presentation area. Trophies in hand. Two happy drivers, as now up for second place will come Stefan Lemare and Gael Castelli. So that is a second of the year, equaling their best result therefore for Castelli and Lemare. But the win can't be far away. The car's got good pace, but how long before it has a maiden success? And for the race win, Luc Ibanez and Xavier Lloveras will step forward as the winning drivers for the NM Racing team. There you have the Spanish drivers making their way forward now to receive the trophies.
NM Racing, herzlichen Glückwunsch.
Not only is it a race win, which is good news for them, but it also brings them into the mix as far as that championship is concerned as well, because the gap is narrowed a little against the class opposition. And a racing team there as well to join in the celebrations. And so now the drivers make their way away from the podium as we turn our attention to the classes, of course, which are represented within the GT4 European Series. So the drivers being called forward. There you have Cembolo Bazi and Yagish Gedich in the Pro-Am class.
Wir bleiben in der Pro-Am Cup-Wertung. Glückwunsch den Zweitplatzierten. Second place, GT Porsche Ticino.
The
Ivan
Jacoma and Joel Camathias Porsche taking second within Pro-Am. They will step forward in a moment as well. Then the class winners, of course, will be brought forward as well. So it's been another very interesting race. There you've got Ivan Jacoma and Joel Camathias. Thumbs up, but I'm not quite sure about what, because it certainly wasn't the result that they would have liked, nor indeed perhaps expected at one point. But Jan Kaspelik and Bastian Bus will step forward, ready to receive their trophies as class winners.
Ja, dann kommen wir noch zur GT4 AM Cup Wertung.
Step. Then we have the AMs, of course, ready to receive, which was a good result for Jean-Luc Verhet and Johan Vannerum, third of the AMs.
Das die Drittplatzierten in der GT4 AM Cup Wertung, Jean-Luc Beetz und Johan Vannerum. Herzlichen Glückwunsch.
There we have
Wir kommen zur Ehrung
the third place drivers.
Er ist die komplette Renndistanz alleine gefahren. Second place, SRT aus Belgien.
And
das Team Bob Herber.
Bob Herber will come forward next for second place within the AM competition, double winner at Misano, but taking second place here. And then for the race win. It will be Gilles Vanderlei and Nico Gomar. There is a lonely Bob Herber. He's very anonymous overall for the Sellerslach racing team, but Nicolas Gomar and Gilles Vanderlei take the category win. And two very happy drivers. Gilles Vanderlei, great character. And he and Nico Gomar celebrate race honours, like everybody, hidden behind the masks, but the Aston Martin crew on top in the AM class of the GT4 European Series. So, well done to French drivers, class winners, and they now will make their way from that presentation area as we turn our attention to tomorrow's race for the GT4 European Series. As I say, this cornflake race, bright and early, and it'll be interesting to see how different a result we have tomorrow. Quick look back at the best bits of a busy old race as the cars accelerated away. That rather messy, scrappy start, costing a few places, but also, of course, giving a penalty to Yvan Jacome on the pit stop in the green and black Porsche. He was on pole, he was meant to have controlled the start, and it was somewhat untidy, to say the very least. Big spin by Wim Spinoy, and then there was contact on the opening lap as well, but did for Jan Kasperlik, and then off with a bit of help by the look of it, went with a punctured tyre as he bounced back onto the road, Jan Kasperlik, and that lost that car, sorry, Jörg Wiebahn, and that cost that car a lap. So Wiebahn was straight away on the back foot. They never recovered the lap, of course, because although there was a safety car, period, by that stage it had already gone a lap down. Great battles raged on. Kasperlik getting involved with Theo Nue. Antoine Potti dispensed with the 111 Bachhausen BMW, both of them launching their way through the chicane. And then we had a full course yellow triggered by Dario Cerati beaching his Cayman in the gravel trap. A full course yellow translated into a safety car period. That delayed the pit window, but we did get going. And then way out wide was Valentin Asclot having a moment. Pit stop cycled through, others were on their toes, and it meant that then there was this drama in the pits as well. Theo Nue trying to get out of the car, and it lurched forward. That's being looked at by the officials as well. So after the pit stops and after penalties were factored in, like an extra 5 seconds for this car, it was the number 15 Mercedes of Xavier Lloveras and Ibanez that was into the lead of the race. And so that car continued to build its lead as Jagish Gedik had a trip through the gravel down at turn 8. Camathias, taking over 7.18, had a big moment at the chicane and lost 2 more places. The car still coming home for a podium result in class, whereas starting the last lap, Valentin Asclot had a tyre go pop. It was a win for Luc Ibanez and Xavier Lloveras. Asclot parking the Aston Martin right before the checkered flag. So, race 1 done. Second win of the year for the Spanish Mercedes drivers Xavier Lloveras and Luc Ibanez. We'll see you in the morning for an espresso. From David Addison for now, goodbye.